I finally got around to doing this show. It's on procrastination. Jesus, it was hard to do. I wanted to do it. I had my heart set on doing it. It's easy to do, I thought. I pretty much know what I want to talk about, but I just kept putting it off. Procrastination. I fucking hate it. It's a demon. It's an actual demon that I have, is procrastination. And maybe you have it too. Maybe it prevents you from doing what you want to do. If you're an artist, it prevents you from painting. If you're a lawyer, it prevents you from lawyering. No, I have no idea how procrastination might impact a lawyer. But it might impact a lawyer in not wanting to meet with clients, or not wanting to get new clients, or not wanting to, not wanting to stand in front of a certain judge if you're that type of lawyer, or not wanting to work with a corporation, or wanting to work on some level but not wanting to work on another level. But since this is a show about art, we'll keep it in the artistic realm. Shall we? Okay. The best way I can describe it is my struggles with procrastination. And I'm going to give you some hacks as to how I've managed to break through some. You can hear my voice cracking already. This is a tell for me. If you listen to this podcast, if my voice starts cracking, it means that either I've just smoked a huge joint, or there's something deeply important that I don't even know about that I'm about to say. It's a tell. Anyway, this is a show about procrastination and what I've learned about it. Believe me, I don't have all the answers, and it plagues me. But you might find some value in what I've learned, and maybe it'll help you. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith. First, let me describe what procrastination feels like to me. It might feel different to you, but just consider when you're experiencing it, what it feels like to you. That's the first thing you got to do, is you got to give it check out the vibe of it and see if it has a feeling or if it's just something else entirely. Now, with me, the closest way I can describe it is a wall. Like I've even talked about it on this podcast, like once I broke through the wall of blah, blah, blah. It's a wall that appears when I set a goal. So if I want to make, say, a ring, I want to make a 14 karat gold ring in the shape of a psilocybin mushroom, and I have this idea in my brain, this is what I want to do with the bench, something will come up to distract me for a second. And when I look back at that ring project, there's a wall there. Somewhere the wall, somehow a wall has appeared. It's an invisible wall. I can still see the project that I want to do through it. But for some reason, it's like, remember that show on TV, The Dome or whatever, where this dome appeared over the whole town? It was like a clear dome or whatever. It's that kind of material that, you can't go in or out of it or whatever. It's like a force field almost. It's really weird. So this is how I characterize my procrastination, as a wall. So breaking through a wall is like getting through procrastination for me in order to do something. To make something, or to do something, or even to start thinking about other different things. Since I'm a visual person, I try and picture it, and I picture it as like plexiglass, like clear plexiglass, but like maybe 6 inches thick, but kind of like flexible. So not hard like plexiglass, but more like a jelly, like a weird kind of clear jelly that I can't get through. Because the more you press on it, the harder it pushes back on you. And although you can see through it and see the goal, I can see the goal that I want to do. I want to make this 14 karat gold ring in the shape of psilocybe mushrooms woven around it or whatever. And I can see it, but I can't do it. And there's no way I can do it, because every time I try and get near the bench to even start work on it, this kind of thick gelatinous wall appears in front of it. It's perfectly see-through, but I can't get through it. It's impossible. And that for me is what procrastination is. I think it might be something different for you. If you're a visual person, it might be like a razor wire, or it might be like one of those frost fences, those wire fences with razor wire on top that you can see through. But believe me, you can see through, but just don't try and climb over it, because it's electrified, right? You know it's electrified. So you tend doing different things instead of going over the fence or cutting through it or whatever. Because, you know, to make a 14 karat gold ring in the shape of psilocybe mushrooms, which is something I can do, it's just I would rather not climb over the fence and get electrocuted in order to do it. So although I can see it there through the fence on the workbench, radiating and sparkling, and I know that some person who loves the shroom will see this as the perfect gift to give themselves or someone else, because it's the most amazing thing to have a deeply meaningful object like this. If you're a psychonaut, and it's something you could wear your whole life. This is what I'm thinking as I'm looking through the fence here, looking through the gelatinous wall at the workbench, and I'm thinking, fuck, I got to make this thing, right? But I can't, because there's this huge wall in front of me that suddenly materialized. And the harder I push against it, the more it pushes back. What am I going to do? Shall I give up the project? Shall I look for other ways? Shall I try digging under the damn wall? That's what I'll do. I'll try digging. I've tried that before and it hasn't worked, but I'll try it again. I'll spend the 90% of the time thinking of ways to get through the wall, to get to this idea on the other side. Now, this causes me pain. It's painful. It's absolutely painful. And I know those of you who are listening to this who suffer from procrastination understand that it's not just the wall, it's the pain associated with the wall. It's like, oh, because you can't get through it, it diminishes your self-esteem. You're saying, fuck, I should be able to get through this. And you can't. And it diminishes your self-esteem. And that's where the pain comes from. The pain is like, it's self-inflicted pain, right? It's like you're literally beating your head against this wall, or the fence, whatever the case may be. So that's how procrastination affects me. And the idea of this is that the overall impact of this is that the ring doesn't get made, right? Or there's a delay in the ring idea coming into fruition, the painting being painted, or the pot being fired in the kiln after it's been made. It won't get to that stage because it doesn't even get started, right? And that's another level of pain that adds to the thickness of the wall. All the previous projects that never got started, all that gets. See how this can spin into something more than just like not being able to do one thing, right? So procrastination is just this, like, it's a demon, I think. I mean, not literally like a demon with like horns and shit, but a demon's a good word for it, because it kind of encompasses like all these different elements, but it doesn't really, it's like a ball and chain preventing you from getting to the goal of what you want to make as an artist. So, you know what I'm talking about. If you experience procrastination, you know what I'm talking about. So this is the podcast for you and for me. As I'm still learning. I'm not like this guru dude who's saying, oh, now I've conquered procrastination, here's what you do. Or I'm not going to have a guest on who claims that, because you know what? I think nobody has overcome procrastination. I think it's like a demon. It's just like this free-floating concept. So let me explain what I mean. I'm good at explaining shit. So maybe I can explain it to myself while I'm explaining it to you. Tell us about coffee here. This is really heavy, this procrastination talk. It's Sunday. I'm recording this Sunday too. Oh, how it's like a demon, and it's such a powerful force, and I believe nobody has overcome it. But I started looking at it. And for example, I have other projects, many other projects across my life, or things that I wanted to do that procrastination cropped up, kept me from doing the project for a while. And then suddenly I started doing the project. Like, how did that happen? There was no procrastination. One day I just found myself sitting at the bench working on the mushroom ring, and that was that. There was no drama. There was no pain. I didn't even think about the procrastination. I just, had a coffee, went into the workshop and started working on the ring. And then as I was working on the ring, I thought, wait a minute, what happened to the procrastination? I spent like 2 fucking weeks trying to break through the procrastination to make this ring. And now this morning, without even thinking about it, I'm working on the ring like as if it was nothing, and like, as it's supposed to be, right? Like I'm there, I'm like at the bench filing away at this ring with these little tiny Swiss files to smooth it off or whatever. And I'm thinking, this looks really good. And it occurs to me, like, what the fuck? How am I here now doing this when I've spent 2 weeks trying to do it and battling myself, preventing myself from doing it? It's like punching myself in the face in order to do a project. Like, but that's what procrastination is you battling you, and it's like the Star Trek thing, the evil twin, right? You're like the evil twin, the guy in the first Star Trek series, the guy that went through time and divided into his evil twin. This is every science fiction is like this anyway, the evil twin. And this is it. You're battling yourself. And who knows you better than yourself, right? This is why it's so hard. And this is where the pain comes from, too, because you're hurting yourself in order to prevent yourself from doing the work that you need to do, the artistic work you need to do. But it can all go away in an instant, and you find yourself making the art and realizing that you're making it. And you wonder, what the hell happened to all that, the wall, the big gelatinous electrified wall that you couldn't get through, that was painful. Like, what the fuck happened to that? Because here you are at the bench, you've half finished the ring already, it's done, nearly done. You're like really engaged with it, and none of that happened this morning. Like, why? How can I tap into that so that I don't waste another 2 weeks trying to do an art piece, trying to make the idea concrete? How can I fix that? What is that trigger? What is that thing that suddenly The wall is gone. It's gone, as if it was never there in the first place. Because, it was never there in the first place. It's all self-created, self-generated. So armed with this knowledge, the next time the wall appeared, I told myself, okay, this wall is entirely self-generated because, 2 weeks ago, last month, 5 years ago, it happened that I was unable to do a thing because of self-generated procrastination by punching myself in the face as I tried to do it, that I couldn't do it anymore. So I couldn't even go near it, right? And then I realized that this is all created, that I create myself in my own mind. Procrastination is not a real thing. It's just a construct of the mind, right? That prevents me from doing what I need to do. Now, armed with this knowledge, you would think that the next time it happens, you could say, okay, it's just a construct. But no, you can't do that, because what procrastination does is the little fucker that it is, it makes you unable to even, that thought doesn't even come up to mind when you're immersed and mired in procrastination. It's like, okay, sure, it's a construct, but it's fucking painful. And how am I going to it's too painful to make this the object, right? It's too hard to write the book, too hard to finish the chapter, too hard to write the story, the poem, make the dress, knit the bedspread. It's just, God, I fucking don't want to do it, right? And that makes it even less worth doing because you hate doing it. And as an artist, you think you want to be paint happy little trees or whatever. It's like you want to sit on your little bench in the sun, in your sunlit studio with sunny bright paints on your easel or whatever, and just birds chirping. But art's not like that, Art's painful. And whether it's self-inflicted pain, like mental pain, or physical, some artists cut their fucking ears off, right? It's serious. Art is serious. Procrastination is a force. It's a force. I fought it my whole life, and I'm still fighting it. I am still fighting it. But I've discovered the one thing that works for me, and it might work for you. And maybe you've already tried it. So if you have, then good for you. But when you're mired in the when the procrastination demon has a grip on you, it's hard to think like this because it prevents you from thinking like this when you're in its grip. So this is like Memento, where the guy loses his memory every 10 seconds or something. He has to tattoo it into his skin. I met this really cute girl at the gas station, and he writes it on his skin because he would forget, and he could meet her the next day and not even remember her. So he's covered in tattoos of all the. So this is like what happens to you with procrastination. It blots out any kind of sense making that you have when you're mired in it. And when you're trying to get through the big wall that's in front of you, it's pushing back with equal force, right? So what do you do? Well, what I found is, okay, two things again. I go back to nature. Nature is a balm. Go out and go for a walk in the woods. Go for, a walk outdoors on the beach. Get away from the city if you can. Go into a park, under some trees. Go into the snow. Just get into the wilderness even for an hour, half an hour, or whatever. And it will ground out the pain of the procrastination. That's step one. And then step two is come back to the studio, to the office, wherever you are, wherever you're trying to do your creative endeavor, and make a conscious decision to cancel the project. You're not going to do it. Fuck that. You're not going to do it. You're going to do something else entirely. You're going to, you're going to work on, instead of the mushroom ring, you're going to work on the cannabis leaf belt buckle design that's kind of been pulling at you for a while. So maybe you'll have another look at it. Or you're going to write a different themed story, a different themed book. You're going to write science fiction instead of the romance novel that you were thinking about writing. You're going to do something completely opposite if possible, but even at a good angle, to, instead of going through the gelatinous wall, you're not going to walk along the side of it, looking around it, looking for ways in. No. You're going to go the opposite direction. Like, fuck that shit, man. You're going to go explore another project, a new project perhaps, something you have on the back burner that you come back to now and again. That's what you're going to do. But you're going to do that after you've gone for the walk in the woods. And then when you get back, you're going to just, I'm going to, instead of throwing the pot on the wheel, I'm going to make a clay tablet with fucking hieroglyphics in it. Whatever, something a different shape, a different color, a different theme. Not even, it has to be opposite of what's behind the wall. All right? Are you following so far? Now, the moment you do this, you will find the wall drops. The wall. That thing that was preventing you from getting to the ring, the psilocybe mushroom ring and 14 karat gold, glistening under the spotlight, wanting to be worn by that beautiful woman in Arizona or wherever. I mean, there's no wall. You just walk over and start working on it. The wall disappears. The moment you focus your attention in the opposite direction, the wall starts coming down really quickly. Now, here's the thing about procrastination. There's a truth to it, is that if you really didn't care about what you were doing, you wouldn't have procrastination. You have to care deeply about what it is that you're not doing in order to have this much drama and walls and electrified fences and shit around it. You really have to care about it deeply in order for all that like stuff to materialize around it. So you do care about it, but you just have to let it go and go in the opposite direction. After a while, you do it quicker and quicker. So for me now, I'm speaking like a guru here, but I'm not. For me, it could take a year at first or 2 years of going in the opposite direction before the wall finally dropped. And then it became less time. Now it can be a few minutes or a day, a week. It's all in the mind, really. It's completely in the mind. If the path is blocked in front of you, go a different direction. Don't look for ways through, or try for a while as long as you can put up with it. But that's what procrastination is, right? In a way. It still plagues me. It's a demon that plagues me, and I know it plagues you. But go the opposite direction. My whole life, when I was a young man, a very young man, I file my taxes on time. Now it's tax season, right? And a lot of us are all get paralyzed with this procrastination around tax time. I know people who haven't filed taxes for like 15 years, right? Because the gelatinous wall has become so thick with each year that it's impossible They can see that they have to do it through the gelatinous wall, but it just gets worse each year, and that becomes a problem, right? So when I was a young man, I would not file my taxes for a few years at a time, and it would make it difficult to file them, and I'd be, oh God, now I have to do so many years at once. And this is how I would do it. Like I would go from groups. I would file in groups, years in groups. This is stupid, right? No, I know it's stupid, but that's what I used to do. And it was the procrastination, the internal barrier, the wall building in the mind to prevent me from doing it right, every year, annually, like which would be easier, right? So anyway, I made a decision then that if I could ever afford it, I would hire a fucking accountant to help me to do this, and not like one of these ones that turn up at the strip mall for the tax season. No, a real accountant, somebody that has designations, that somebody I don't particularly like all that much. I mean, and not even acquaintance. He's an accountant. He's a professional. He speaks a different language than me. He understands all this shit that I don't understand. Like, I'm going to hire somebody like that when I can afford it. This is, to me, like, this is the best thing I could ever do for myself, I thought, because frankly, I don't want to think about this stupid tax shit ever again. I just want to deal with a professional who can tell me what to give, what data to give, who can prepare it properly for the tax people, send it off to them on time every year, and that's that, right? Like, that was my goal, and I achieved this goal. I got this accountant eventually in my life, and exactly as I visualized, and that's one less burden for me. So that's taken away. So you can delegate your walls, your gelatinous wall, to somebody, if you can afford it. But if you can't, believe me, just if it's taxes, that's fine. You can get an account for that. But a lot of this artistic shit, you can't get professionals to help you with this. These are matters that you have to resolve yourself in order to produce your creative work. This is the shit you have to break through, the walls you have to break through in order to make your products and to realize your art, to concretize your ideas, to make them real. And in that little snippet of audio last week that DJ Derek Carter shared, that woman, God, I even forget her name now, but just the thought of like the creative process being the actual process of making the piece, not the piece itself. That's not the art. It's the process all the way up to making the art. So the gelatinous wall is part of that. It's like, okay, built into that ring is the artist's pain. Trust me, if you buy a piece of jewelry made by an artist, a painting, a fine piece of ceramic or something, the vibe will come off it. Like there's something that comes off it because there's so much pain and internal turmoil of the artist that went into the making of the piece. And that's what makes art different from something spat out of a machine in China or a factory in Europe or wherever, a mass production thing. There's no vibe to it. There's nothing. And there's no overcoming pain or barriers. A mass-produced piece. And that's why it doesn't have any kind of longevity or meaning, in my opinion. But anyway, so that's it for procrastination. Again, in summary, step 1, get out into nature for a little while, just to ground out the demon, the procrastination demon. And then go for like half an hour walk in the woods, on the beach, not go by yourself. Don't go with anyone, just go by yourself. And then when you come back, make a conscious decision not to work on that project. Just say, Fuck that. I'm going to work on something else entirely and just begin work on that other thing entirely and watch what happens. I am in the studio doing multiple things now. The plants are growing. The 4 plants are growing, and soon I will be picking leaves off them. They're growing quickly. Too quickly, I think. Maybe I started them a bit too early. I don't know. But I'm going to pick leaves off, and I'm going to start working with leaves for new designs for the fall and for the winter of this year. I'm so excited about spring. I just hope it comes soon. And like, God, this was a long winter. There's so many nice new things coming from us this year. Oh, final thing. I'm uploading the episodes, all the previous episodes, to YouTube because Google says their podcast app is being retired. So in order to get the podcasts on the Google network, you have to upload them to YouTube, which is what I'm doing. And it's fucking taking forever. It's a long process. And I've uploaded, 7 or 8 episodes so far. These are just audio, right? I'm throwing some video clips and stuff in there to make them interesting for somebody on YouTube. But this is an audio show for up till now anyway. But anyway, I've only uploaded 7 episodes, and Google has already restricted one of them as an adult thing. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, why? This is on the podcast, on your podcast network, is not an adult thing. It's not an adult it's not a children's podcast, but it's not a podcast about drugs, or it's a podcast about art, design, and jewelry. Like, anyway, their AI has saw fit to already block or slow down or limit, age restrict one of the episodes. Like, I've only put up 7. Can you imagine? And I have 60 or whatever now. How many their AI is gonna decide. See, this is the problem with the platforms. Now they're deciding you have to format your content exactly for them, which for artists shouldn't do and mustn't do. Okay, artists have to format their work for Google, and then Google gets to decide what gets let through, right? But it's not only Google, it's Facebook, it's all these digital platforms. They own this platform, this application layer, and they're training their AIs on our material that we create, and then blocking our content at whim for whatever reason they want, blocking the distribution of our content. Not only our content, your content is what I'm saying here. So this is the problem with platforms. We're going to really have to figure out a way to get away from platforms so that artists can communicate directly with people who are interested in our art and not have to go through a gatekeeper or some kind of AI filter in order to get our art to our customers and to people who need to see, hear, touch, and feel our art. So Google, smarten up. Smarten up. Sergey Brin, dude, smarten up. That's all I gotta say. For artists all around the world. Don't become a screen. Don't become a filter to creativity. You've enriched yourselves on our art, on the art of humanity for years, for decades now. Now open up the screens, right? For us, artists, okay? Anyway, that was like an addendum at the end of the podcast. I just had to add that in there. See you next week. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.